Omar Jill is longing to come back to Indonesia. I don't know when I will be there again, but
BadminTalk is back.
Okay, so we'll go back to our fans question segment. So we have another member of our team, Ian, that will read out two of our fans question. Over to you, Ian.
Okay, I have a question here from Linga. The thing about badminton is that we usually do not know the schedule and the match until late of the previous day. How do you prepare yourself for commentating on a match before the day?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Very good question. Was that Linda who asked that question?
It's Linga.
Linda.
With
Very,
G.
Linga.
Linga.
Yes,
Linga.
in Jill Club.
Yes. So it's a very good question, because I know that it's a big problem. One of the things the players are always saying is we need the order of play. I don't know whether I have to get up early and prepare for the first matches, or whether I'll be on later on the day. It's also an issue for commentators, because we only get the order of play at the same time as the players get the order of play, and a large part of that is determined by what the television wants, the broadcasters want, by who's won matches this evening. But it does mean that if I'm not getting the order of play until 11 o'clock at night, and I'm on air at 12 o'clock the next day, then I'll have the alarm set for 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll get up at 6 o'clock, obviously shower and get dressed, and then I'll do two and a half hour prep. Then I'll go and have half an hour breakfast, do another hour's prep. By that time it's 10:30 in the morning. I get myself down to the stadium. We always have sound checks and rehearsals an hour before we go to air. So then I commentate all the way through till 6 or sometimes 7 o'clock at night. It's 8 o'clock at night before I get back to the hotel. I haven't eaten anything since breakfast, so then I quickly order room service or something and have food, and then I sit and wait for the order of play, and like the players do, and then I do the next thing the next day. I set the alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning, and up I go and do my research. I'm not complaining, but of course the fans want to know, when they want to turn up at the stadium, or when they went to watch because they want to watch their favorite player. The players want to know. I want to know as a commentator. Logistics dictate that it's not always possible, and as much as the tournament organisers, I know, in consultation with the broadcasters, try and come to an agreement as soon as they possibly can. If play hasn't finished until late the night before, then you can't do that. So that's why it's always so late, and it's difficult for everyone, fans, players and commentators.
Yeah, I think some very late night, and I mean, like some tournament they can end like 11 or even the midnight, and then it starts like 10 a.m. in the next day. So it must be tough for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Regarding that, actually, well, I'm part of it anyway too, because as the organizer, I mean, actually we did better than before. So we always have a meeting with the me as part organizer, with the TV, the local TV in front in BWF. We used to have a meeting between 5:30 to 6 o'clock. And we figured out, let's say I have 10 matches. So we try to figure out if we want to have this, and this. But we don't have this will happen. So I think we are getting better now, because we have so many complaints from the players that that the schedule sometimes become too late. So what we did right now is we already like figured out, let's say, especially let's say on the Wednesday, whatever, on the Thursday. So what we do is like 6 o'clock we have a meeting already. Okay, we figured out, let's say the first 5 matches, whatever, or the first 10 matches, what it will look like. And also because of timing in Denmark, that time we always put the European player a little bit late because that's a request of the TV as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be very complicated.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a spectator ourselves, right? I mean, we usually just watch the matches and then like, I mean, we also at the same time hear your commentary. But I mean, it must be very challenging. I mean, for you, I mean, as a commentator live, where you have to watch, you have to understand how the game is playing, and also have to, I mean, dig out all the stats. Like, can you tell us more about like how your thinking process, how you put your thinking cap? I mean, how you follow all these different difficult rally and also think about what to say next?
Well, as I say, an awful lot of it is in the preparation beforehand, so that I have, I'm very old-fashioned. My notes are in hard copy, so that I have a copy of the draws, the tournament draws with the, you know, first round, second round, and so on. I have a copy of every player or pair that I'm going to commentate on, and they're all in order. I have stats on the tournament, that's all in order on my commentary deck. And so it's very simple. After one match, those pieces of paper go to the back of the pile, and then the next pieces of paper are all ready with the players for the next match. But there's very, very little time. We have a maximum of 2 minutes of montage between the end of one match and the beginning of the next match. So I have to get my thoughts together for the next match with the player stats and so on. It has to be done very, very quickly, which means that, you know, it's got to be fresh in my mind, hence the hours of preparation. But a second part of your question there is, how do you think what to say? I don't think what to say. I think one of the secrets to commentary is that I believe that commentary in a way should be spontaneous, and I should be reacting with my knowledge to what is happening. So if I have to sit and think about what I'm going to say, I probably shouldn't be saying it. So if the action is speaking for itself, if it's all so exciting, if it's so much tension, you don't actually need me to say very much because you're caught up in the moment. But in the build-up to the match, you need me to tell you a lot so that it becomes more interesting, so that you know why this is absolutely vital for this player to win this. Because if Chen Yufei wins the World Tour finals in Guangzhou last year, she will go to world #1, overtaking Tai Tzu Ying. There's more significance to it. And that makes it even more significant. And of course, winning the World Tour finals is a huge thing, but it just adds interest. So I don't really think about what I'm going to say when I'm going to say it. I try and react and bring out my knowledge when it feels right.
Yeah. Jill, sometimes like, you know, you have like so many matches in between, right? Okay. You know, I mean, you know, is it ever happened to you that, you know what, I need to go, but you have like only like a certain time? Has it happened to you before?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go back to the fans question section. Ian, I think we have one more question from your side.
Yeah, I have one more question, and interesting one, I believe, from Gillian. Is there any player that you are looking forward to the most when commentating?
Oh gosh. I'm just looking forward to seeing badminton being played at the elite level. I have to say that, you know, I'm often asked, who are your favorite players? I don't have a favorite player, and I don't have a favorite football team. I don't support one team. For me, the joy of commentating on a badminton player that's showing either great determination, great skill, after we come out of this global crisis, great enthusiasm to be back on court and real passion and love for the game. If you see a player displaying any of those traits, it's just a joy to watch them. And therefore, it's a pleasure to commentate on them. And therefore, I'm looking forward to the players that show that great skill, that great determination, that great enthusiasm to be back. They're the ones that I'm really, really going to enjoy.
Like a Momogi match? Momogi.
You know, they always do, or they always have produced wonderful matches. Momoto against Ginting is just, I think back to their China Open finals, and they've always produced great matches. The two wonderful players, and as Vitinghus was saying the other day, contrasting styles, that always makes it interesting if we've got contrasting styles playing against each other. Yeah, I'm looking forward to them all. I'm looking forward to all disciplines, all players that show their enthusiasm to be back.
So of the thing that we also found that you have commented on tennis before as well. I think Wimbledon, if I'm not mistaken. So
Wow.
does it feel like, I mean, commentating in a tennis match, and like how does it differ with badminton?
Well, whilst they're both racket sports, the sports are very different. Badminton is non-stop action, basically. There's far more pauses in tennis, which I think disrupts the flow of the match, and not disrupts. That's totally unfair. It's different. Badminton is much quicker, more explosive, and more dynamic as a sport, and that's where it's very different. I've thoroughly enjoyed commentating on tennis, and yes, I commentated at Wimbledon 2 years running, once for the BBC, so that was a great experience as well. But they're totally different sports, so you must approach them differently. But to me, it was interesting when you were asking about Hans Christian about the fact that he played tennis, and he said he didn't watch it. Now, what I would love to have known is why he didn't watch it. Why didn't Vitinghus watch it? And I think it's because there's so many pauses every 2 games, apart from 3 games at the start of a set. You then, every 2 games, the players have a sit down and so on. It'd be interesting to know. I'm going to ask him that, you know, next time I see him. Or maybe I'm going to email him and say, Hans Christian, tell me, why do you not watch tennis? Because that's the interesting thing to me. I mean, we have wonderful sport in the sport of badminton. And I think that the nature of the sports and my personality and my style of commentary lends very well to the sport of badminton. So of course, this is where my passion is.
So talking about tennis, I mean, like, I think everyone should agree that, I mean, tennis could be like a bigger sport, like internationally. Like most people, those sport fans, they usually know who is the top tennis player, like Roger Federer, but I don't think for badminton, they know like the top of mind players. So like, what do you think like makes it, what needs to happen for badminton so that, I mean, they can be at least at the tennis level? I mean, probably from the engagement level perspective and also from the sport development itself.
Yeah. It's a very complex answer to your question. But the interesting thing is that in one aspect, badminton is already bigger than tennis, because badminton is the 2nd highest participation sport globally. So we are bigger than tennis, but we don't have the fan following that tennis has. And as I say, it's a very complex thing. There isn't one single thing that we need to do to make us as big a prize money as tennis, or the global following that we have in tennis, and not just by numbers. I'm talking about geographical following that tennis has across the world. Badminton doesn't have that yet. We have a big following in Asia, but we don't yet have it globally. If I had to pick out one single thing that I thought we needed to do to take a major step forward, is our star athletes, our professional athletes, our elite athletes, must learn to converse in English. It is the international language of sport. And we as fans, and that's basically what I am. I'm a badminton fan who just happens to talk about it as well. But I'm a sports fan. And I need to be able to know about the players' personalities. You have no idea how wonderful it is to hear Cho Tien-Chen from Chinese Taipei doing interviews in English. Nozomi Okuhara speaking in English. Can you imagine if Lin Dan had been able to speak in English? What a global superstar he would be. Of course, he's a megastar in his own country, but we need global megastars, and we desperately need our elite athletes to learn English. And the BWF are helping with that, because they've set up a program, online program, for players to be able to help their English language skills and so on. And that's terrific. But that I think would make a huge difference, because then the fans can relate to the star players. At the moment, you're relying on what the commentators say or what the media writes about them, because we don't know them as personalities, as people. And we desperately need to know that, because we want to have rivalries. We want to know whether we, in badminton terms, whether we are a fan of the Federer or the Nadal. Do we have that in badminton? No, because we don't know the personalities. We know the players, we can see their style of players, but we need to know more. We're intrigued about them as people, and then we can relate to them. And that will make us far more interested and help spread the popularity of badminton globally.
I think, well, I guess in general, other than that, what is the most essential thing an athlete actually needs to have in order to achieve better, or to be the best, I guess, in their sports career?
Crikey. First, a dream and a goal, dream or goal, whether it's the same sort of thing. They then need to have a plan as to how they're going to implement that. And then they need the courage and the determination to see that plan through. And it's awfully easy for players, for all of us in any walk of life, to say, oh, I'd like to do that, or I'd like to be better at that, or I'd like to, do that, this, that, and the next thing. And this is how I'm going to do it. And lots of us set out plans, but how many of us actually then have the courage and determination to implement the plan and see it through? Not many. And that's where people tend to fall down. And I have huge respect to sort of put this into perspective and personalize it. I have huge respect for Cho Tien-Chen, who I've just mentioned, from Chinese Taipei, because I can remember speaking to him at a coffee shop in an airport somewhere. We were waiting to go for our flight from one tournament to another, and we were sitting having a coffee, and it was the first time I'd really spoken to him at length and realized how good his English was. And he told me then that he believed he needed to change certain aspects of his game to give himself the opportunity to become a much better player. And over the next year, I watched his game carefully, and his results actually became a little worse. Over the next year, I think he lost in first or second round a lot of tournaments he was seeded, but he was losing the second round in about 10 tournaments over a 12-month period. And I didn't say anything because he'd told me something in confidence, and I knew he was working on something. And look at him now. 5 years later, he was prepared to take a step backwards and let his results drop before taking 2 or 3 steps forward to becoming a much better player. And to have the courage to do that when you're already in the top 10 in the world does take guts and determination. So he's gone through the process. He's now 30 years of age and he's world number 2. You have got to have huge, huge respect for the guy to have the courage to stick by his convictions and actually make himself into that better player, even though he was a top 10 player. I think that's quite incredible.
Yeah, that's like a really great story. Like I've never heard, I guess, from that side. But I think it's awesome to see the commitment that and the discipline that athletes have, I guess, in general, to be at that level. We've seen a lot of athletes playing at certain level and then they just kind of give up. So to be able to see them compete in that top level, I think there's a lot that they have to give, even like stepping back a little bit and then like, you've seen just kind of like fast forward, move a little bit further than before by taking those, little step backs. But it's much more important than just kind of like, okay, we're just gonna push through when it hits the limit and something like that.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to explain this philosophy in a sport like golf, because I used to play a little bit of golf, but in recent years I've been too busy, so I've got plenty of time at the moment. I should bust down the golf clubs again. But I think if you haven't got the right swing, you'll never be able to do certain things with the ball. So even though you can get your handicap down to a reasonable level, you're never going to get it down really low unless you work on that swing.
Right.
And you'll probably be very erratic to start with a new golf swing if you completely change your golf swing. But in the long term, it's going to be better. And that's what athletes in every sport have to do about, a badminton player or whatever aspect they're trying to change. And it's the tiny details that make the big difference at the elite level.
Absolutely.
Because the elite level of sport, the top badminton players, everybody's got a pretty good defense, everybody's got a pretty good attack, everybody's got a pretty good net shot. But what makes the difference is that tiny detail that, the top badminton players. I watched a video recently of Momota, who did net shot after net shot, and he hit 5 net cords in a row. Now, the skill to be able to do 5 net cords in a row is incredible. Somebody was just throwing a shuttle over and he was doing his net cords. Now, that's the tiny detail. If I tried to do that, and maybe I'd get 1 out of 5. So it's that tiny detail. It's the attention to detail that I think probably separates the champions from the contenders. And I think that's what elite athletes in all sport, that's what they look to close down, those tiny little margins that can make the big difference.
Right. I absolutely agree. I think, well, I'm not a professional or anything, but I do help. I teach at school, and I see like how when a certain person, able to really understand a certain techniques, whether that's in like classroom or in sports, but that person can really go far beyond that than those people who just, play, but never really understand the real technique. It will like stuck, I guess, in a sense,
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, we want to give a chance also to Fifi, one of our teammates, to read a question from one of our fans. So Fifi.
Okay, this is a question from Ilham Ferdias. Indonesia has been dominating the men's double discipline, especially after the rise of Ahsan Setiawan in their second stint as a pair, making it a high chance to have all Indonesian final in a lot of tournaments. What do you think makes Indonesian men's double department so special?
Wow. I guess one of the simple answers is success breeds success. Because if you've got young players aspiring to be like the very successful elite players in the national squad, and they're the best in the world, then the youngsters are aspiring to be the best in the world and get to watch the best players in the world, can train with the best players in the world, spar with the best players in the world. Wietinghus was telling you that there's always been a tradition of men's singles, good men's singles players in Denmark, and I think again that has been success, has bred success, and that's part of it. I also think that your current top two players, you have two players on opposite sides of the net who I think are absolute maestros at reading the game. So Hendra Setiawan, at the way he never seems rushed, he's always seems to be in the right place at the right time. The way he reads the game and therefore can intercept so much at the front of the court is just magnificent. And Kevin Sanjaya Sukamuljo is just such a character. He is so fast. He plays at such a speed. His racket head work is so quick. He plays the most outrageous shots that most players wouldn't have the capability of playing or even consider playing because they don't have the capability of playing it. So you have two pairs at the moment who have outstanding front court players. And I think that's wonderful. But I think an awful lot of it has been success breeds success. But I've also seen the Indonesian players in general in their training environment, and they always seem to have so much fun. Of course, they train hard. That's obvious from their play on court, but they also seem to have fun in the practice and training environments, and I think that is possibly a key as well.
So I think, you know, if we speak about them, like especially like Kevin, he's just one of a kind. You know, he's a rare breed. You know, you can't just find him anywhere. So I think, in a sense, you know, that that's what makes him also so strong because of the talent. But Hendra, a lot of people are. If we ask like athletes, if we listen to their interviews or like people, fans, who are their favorite players, usually one of them is Hendra Setiawan. So I think the techniques that he have, the achievements, the character himself, you know, he's just an amazing person to look up to for the younger people, I guess, and also the National Training Center, and for the younger, you know, people that are trying to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you want to continue?
No, I totally agree. I think he's a wonderful role model. You know, his ability to not only read the game, but keep calm. I think we also must give credit to both those players' partners, because they wouldn't have the opportunity to intercept the net if Mohamed Hassan wasn't smashing in the right place, and Marcus Fernaldo Gillian wasn't smashing in the right place, and so on. It simply wouldn't be possible for the front court players to intercept. So it's a complete package. Of course, we see the dynamic, exciting winning shot coming from Kevin or from Hendra. So, of course, we think they're the best players because they're hitting the winning shot, but you actually need that rear court player to set you up at the net. So it's a complete package.
It takes two to tango.
It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jill, you know the Hendra Hassan just adopted another son?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his name is Lee Yu Chen.
Oh, lovely.
No, Liu Jun actually admire him, a lot. So, they've been friends like, quite a long time. So like, every time I think they all get together, like dining, seem like that. So, we always like, tease like Liu Jun, are you now the son of the, the oldest son of the Hendras Setiawan? He's just laughing. I mean, the teammate also know about it too. So,
yeah.
So now they make like, they try to like, tell him that he's not a name called Liu Jun Setiawan.
Oh.
So we have one more question from our followers, and it's actually not a fan, not just a fan, but it's actually a badminton coach. So Fifi, you can read the question.
Okay, this question is from Brian Kunchoro. How do you see the game develop over the years in terms of technical development?
Technical equipment.
Technical development.
Yeah, sorry, just repeat that. That's technical equipment?
Development.
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 Development. Technical development of the game over the years. Well, there's no doubt from my era of badminton to badminton now, the game has developed considerably. I mean, players now are much faster, much more explosive in their movement. And in fact, the equipment is very different than Rudy was talking earlier about heavy rackets and so on. You're able to do technical things with the rackets now because they are so much lighter. So it's the game has developed and changed since my playing day. But I would say that I think that if we look at 10, 15 years ago and the standard of play, has it developed since then, I think maybe every discipline has little waves of how it develops. Nothing's just an upward curve. 10, 15 years ago, I think that the women's singles, for instance, was dominated by Chinese players. Now it's the most interesting, most competitive, most diverse as far as nationality of the top players is concerned of any of the 5 disciplines. And I think the women's singles from 10, 15 years ago has gone to a new level. I think they play with far more intensity now and at a much higher pace than they did 10, 15 years ago. So I think women's singles has gone up a level. If you compare men's singles to 10, 15 years ago, and 10 years ago, you had Taufik Hidayat, you had Lindan at his best, Peter Gader, Lee Chong-wei was very much at his best and so on. And if you say to today's players, they're every bit as good. I'm not saying they're not as good. They're every bit as good, and maybe they're even a little bit better. I don't know. That's all very subjective opinion to the likes of Lindan, Taufik, and Lee Chong-wei at their best. Have they taken the sport and the men's singles discipline to a higher level than those greats from 10 years ago? No, I don't think they have. So whilst women's singles to 10 or 15 years ago has gone to a whole new level, men's singles, I don't think probably has. It might be on the verge of going to a whole new level. Who knows? And that's the excitement for us as fans, seeing how the discipline develops. Men's singles is still it's still very competitive. But what I'm doing is looking at whether the discipline has gone to a whole new level from 10 or 15 years ago. I'm not sure men's singles has. I think women's singles has. So it's always developing and developing at different paces.
Yeah, so
I hope that answers your question.
From my perspective, actually, it's quite like men's doubles discipline have developed quite rapidly, because either like 5 or 10 years ago, men's singles is quite popular. That like we know Lee Chong-wei and Lindan, but now it seems like men's doubles quite more popular than men's singles. That's from my own perspective, actually.
Yeah.
So talking about development, like how the game developed, I think with this current situation, we may be talking about like post 2020 development, because I mean the COVID-19 is definitely changed everything. I mean it changed our lifestyle. I mean in badminton as well, it changed how people keep in shape. It changed how athletes do their training. It changed how like the national team center, they actually split the using IT as a medium for like communication with the different players. So, I mean, we as a fans, we are eager for badminton to go back at the highest level, but we actually may expect some changes in the development as well. So, how do you think this situation, the COVID-19 situation, will affect the badminton tour, or like let's say the badminton game in general once it restarts?
Well, as I was saying, I think initially it will change the game in that we won't be able to have fans actually in the stadium. Apart from that, it'll be interesting to see what players have been working on skill-wise or fitness-wise during this enforced break. But I don't think it will change the sport too dramatically. I think it will change their playing environments initially, but I think and hope that within another year that the world will be back to normal, as it were, you know. So I don't think there'll be too many changes.
So, how about like the tournament? Like, I mean, definitely with the more tournaments getting suspended or getting postponed, we'll see probably more tight schedules like between tournament, especially on the highest level of the world. We could see like 2 or 3 badminton world tour super 500 or higher in a row together. So, how do you think some players keep up with this new schedule that will be announced sooner?
Well, I think it's impossible for players to play 4, 5 or 6 World Tour Super 500 or above tournaments in 5 or 6 weeks. I don't see that as physically possible. I know that under the BWF's current regulations, the top committed players are supposed to play a certain number of events and all the Super 1000s and 750s. As I know the BWF are contemplating how to get badminton back on its feet again. They're all working extremely hard to try and achieve that. I know they're all talking about how the qualifying for the Olympics will be adjusted, or if it will be adjusted, I don't know. I'm not involved in that, so I can't comment on that side of things. But I'm absolutely certain that the BWF will take into account this situation and their rules on how many events the top committed players have to play when tournaments are one after the other, week in, week out, when tournaments are rescheduled. I'm very, very confident that the BWF will be thinking of all of that and making adjustments accordingly so that players don't literally play 6 major tournaments in 6 weeks, that they will have the ability to pick and choose a little bit. I'm sure.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that insight. I can't believe we spent almost 90 minutes, I think. So I guess before we go, we want to give a chance for, maybe Mr. Reed, want to say something first for closing anything, or we want to give our time to Jill to close up?
I would just like to close the session, if I may, by sending a message to, I know you've told me that I have many fans in Indonesia, and they've said they miss me.
Right.
May I say to all the fans in Indonesia, I miss you too. And Omar Jill is longing to come back to Indonesia. I don't know when I will be there again, but I can't wait. I miss the badminton, I miss Indonesia, and I miss you fans too. So take good care of yourselves, and we will meet again. Not sure when, but we will, and I look forward to it.
Well,
Jill, thank you so much, Jill. We really appreciate it. So
Yeah,
can I call you Oma now too?
Please do, it's lovely.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk with you and take up 90 minutes of your time. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Well, we're just going to bed soon. But yeah, thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jangan lupa ikutin keseruan konten-konten di BadminTalk TV. Kalian bisa like, komen, dan juga subscribe. Gue Gavin. See you later.